Hello. Hello. Please let me know if you can hear me. Hello, everyone. I can see we've got a comment in the chat right now from Mike Powers, who's very pleased to be here. Thank you for joining, Mike Powers, and for being the first in the live chat. Congrats. That takes guts. Whoa. Can you hear me? Hello? Let me test. Let's see. Uh-oh. Can you hear me? Annette Rogers. Hello, Annette Rogers. All right, you all can hear me? Excellent. So I feel like the topic of this video is probably kind of strange to some of you. But those of you who have been with my channel from the beginning, you know that I started on YouTube just talking about things that were on my heart, things that I was passionate about, interested in, things that I wanted to share, things that other people could learn from. I've been on YouTube now for 8 years. I realized this on my last live stream. And so I know that there are some of you here watching today, or who will be watching soon or watching it later, who have been with my channel that long. So if you're one of those people, type in the comments 8 years in the comments or in the live stream. Where's my water? Give me a sec. Oh, here it is. All right. It's great to see you too. All right. So yes, today's topic, how I escaped every time 3 tales of childhood triumph. Now, I want to say right off the bat, I know that the majority, well, I wouldn't say the majority, but a lot of the kids that I grew up with did not escape. They did not escape weird people. They did not escape abuse and trauma. Actually, I didn't either. But this particular style of danger towards children was something that I managed to outwit. And I did it on my own. As many of you know, I grew up in a single parent family, so there was no father in the house. And my mother was very neglectful and abusive. So even if, people have parents in the home, stuff can still happen to them, right? So the main message that you're probably going to take away from this video, I hope, is that it's really important to be able to cultivate a sense of right and wrong within your heart, inside yourself, a way of finding out, what you're comfortable with, what you are not, and taking action or not taking action based on that. I feel like that is so important, especially with the world the way it is right now. You're going to have many, I'm smiling because I see Veronica. Hello, Veronica. Ukrainian perspective with Veronica Olson, 5 years. Yes. Oh, I love it. You're so welcome for this topic. I've been wanting to talk about this for so long, and I've been wanting to make the perfect video, and so that's why I've been waiting. And you know what? I'm just going to talk about it now, and if this video is not perfect, I'll make more, right? I talked about this to my people when I taught YouTube. Don't worry about being perfect. Just make stuff and get it out there. If it's not perfect for you, it'll still help someone, right? But then I do it myself. So, yeah, anyway, here I am, and we're talking about it. Now, there is a thunderstorm going on outside. I'm going to apologize for that right now. I hope that you guys are not going to have any problems with hearing it. Maybe you can hear the rain falling. That might be nice. Anyway, okay, so let's get started. Um, so, as I mentioned, the main, most important thing is cultivating that sense of self inside so that when the news is telling you something, social media is telling you something, whatever it is, you have a sense within inside yourself that says, this is what's important to me. Let me gather information and make my own decisions. Let me protect myself and the people that I care about. And if you're someone who, you've maybe had a traumatic childhood or you didn't have any support, there are a lot of things that you may have that are negative in your life going forward. But one of the positive things is that you had to develop this sense of yourself very early on. And that is a gift, right? So when the world is chaotic around you, you have that sense of yourself that you had to learn to survive, and you have that available to you. And so I have, I really wanted to talk about these stories because a lot of things happened in my childhood that I never talked to anyone about. I never really told anybody. I was a secretive little kid, you know. And I think part of that, was the trauma. It was because I didn't have adults in my life who I felt were trustworthy or admirable, that were available to me constantly. I had some really good role models around in the periphery, but, I don't really remember anyone ever sitting me down and having any kind of heart to heart with me or, giving me a chance to open up or anything like that. So, yeah, I'm like going on and I'm like, where was I going with that? So, yeah, so, um, oh, this is good. This is so good for me. Hello, people in the chat. I'm really using this time to reconnect with my audience and to kind of break out of my perfectionistic way of doing things. You've seen that my videos have been very edited in the past. So, yeah, this is good. This is good to, things are not going to be perfect. And yeah, I like pushing and challenging myself. So that's what we're doing here today. All right. So let's start with the first story that I remember. It happened when I was 9 years old and I was staying in the hospital. I was very, very sick. I talk about this, hold on, in my book on Amazon, Recollections, A Journey Through Therapy and Recovery. Yeah, I was very, very ill when I was 9 years old, and I was in the hospital getting a biopsy, and it was a children's hospital, and there was another bed in there with another girl, this little blonde girl, and I remember, her and I started talking. And, I remember her parents would come in. Her parents seemed like nice, respectable people. And, they would bring her stuff and they would care for her. And I don't want that feedback. All right. So, yeah. And technical difficulties. And so, yeah. So her and I were friends and we would chat and talk and, we had Barbies and stuff like that. And then I remember that I had gone there in the nighttime. I woke up the next day and this janitor comes in. Okay, so there's these two 9-year-old girls. At that point, we were there by ourselves. Her parents came and went. We were there by ourselves, and this janitor guy comes in, and I immediately did not like him. I took one look at this guy, and I just did not like him at all. And he didn't look strange. He looked like maybe 28-year-old guy, early 30s. dark hair, just wearing an average kind of like clothing. And but so he walks in and he started talking to us, and just being immediately overly friendly, right? And I definitely did not like this. Um, I remember, and I learned this early on because when I was 4 years old, I would witness my mom, gallivanting with bad men. Okay. And I remember, if you guys listen, the video I made about forgiving my mother, you can hear me talking in that video when I was 3 years old, and she's like interviewing me. And there's a part that I cut out of that video, but she was asking me what I thought about her boyfriend, and I was saying, oh, he's bad. And she was saying, no, Adele, don't say that. And I was saying, oh, I don't. And I was saying things like that, 3 years old, right? And he was my brother's father. Uh, he was, an alcoholic. He was not a good person. He was never in our lives or my brother's life. And so I was aware from a very young age of just like my senses were on about the wrong kind of people. So anyway, yeah, this janitor, he's chit-chatting these two girls in the hospital, being friendly and smiley, and it's really funny, and I still have it to this day where, I just, if someone gives me a bad vibe, actually, no, I'm more direct these days, but when I was a kid, I used to just have this look that was like not impressed, like killing you with my eyes, like just this laser, just and that usually shut everything down. They would leave me alone. And so this guy's like, "Oh, hi, girls. Like, what do you, did you this and that, blah blah." And I was just like, And the little girl beside me, she was really nice and sweet and friendly, right? She probably grew up in a safe environment with sweet parents, and nothing bad ever happened, so she didn't have that kind of awareness. And I remember after he first left, I told her, I said, don't talk to him. And she was saying, why not? He's nice. I said, he's weird. Don't talk to that guy. And she was saying, oh, you're being so negative, or something like that. And so things went on. I think I probably was there for a day or two, and he would come in again, and I would just, every time I would just give him this dirty look, and I refused to talk to him. And then the day that I was leaving, um, I came back in the room, and she was in there, and I saw him leaving, and I told her, like, oh, I hope you didn't talk to him. And you know what she said to me? This little girl, she said, of course I talked to him. He's my boyfriend. 9 years old. And, you know, I just remember, I just remember feeling so upset. I remember feeling so, I just knew it was wrong. I couldn't say why, but I knew it was wrong. And I told my mom, and you know what she did? The janitor came while she was there, and my mother was like abusing me verbally when I was in the hospital when no one was around. And he came in and he said, "Oh, your daughter is so mean to me." And my mom goes, "Yeah, she can be rude sometimes. I'm so sorry." Can you believe it? It blows my mind to think of it to this day. But so you can see how, I learned, I had this sense of betrayal, and I had these experiences in my life where I felt something was right, and adults were telling me it was wrong. So I really had to cultivate inside myself a feeling of accepting myself and trusting my judgment. And that was definitely one of those times. I didn't know what else to do beyond that after that. And yeah, that was something that I always remembered. And I wonder what happened going further. I wonder what that little girl remembers. I don't think he had enough time to like really do anything weird, but I don't know. Um, but yeah, that was something that I always kind of stood out to me. So I'm wondering, let's
check in on the live chat. Is there anyone here who feels like you've met somebody before and you just did not like them? If you did, type in the comments. Veronica Olsen. Aww. Smart little Liddell. How's the sound doing? Because I've been messing around with it. Let me type into the chat. Let me check. How is the sound? And how many viewers do we have? Hands up. And for sure. Okay, awesome. It's a Sunday night. We're going to have less viewers now. More people will watch this later. Yeah, it happens a lot. Many people and a hands up. That's awesome. Now, that is one of the 3 tales that I'm going to tell. But I had something happen prior to that. It was a moment that I always remembered for the rest of my life. And my mind always kind of went back to it. And I wonder if any of you can kind of benefit or relate with this story. So this was prior to me being in the hospital. I think I was probably about 7 years old. I used to spend summers on the farm of family friends, and that made a huge difference in my life. I think all children should have time to spend living on a farm at some point, to see where their food comes from, how to grow things, caring for animals, sense of responsibility, being in nature. Oh man, that was an amazing gift in my life, all the time I had spent on the farm. But at one point, I remember, now, there was one kid who I used to play with on that farm growing up. He was this kid called Paul, and we were playing up on the hill, and we wanted to ask his dad if we could ride the horse. And so we couldn't find him, and then we saw one of the farm hands up on the hill in a truck. So we went over, and we kind of were like, do you know where his dad is? And we'd never seen this guy before. And he was a young guy, like blonde hair and some kind of, just a farmhand clothing. But we just assumed that he was a farmhand. And he said, yeah, he's just down the way. He's working in one of the fields. But he probably won't be back for a long time. So if you guys want to see him, I can take you there. And I remember my friend Paul, he just jumped in the truck, and I hesitated because something just felt weird about it to me. And I remember saying, Paul, like, let's talk about this. Let's think. He's like, no, quit being, just get in the truck. And I still waited. And the guy, the driver, looked at me and said, well, you need to make your decision. You get in now, or we're going to leave you behind. And I hesitated again, and I got in anyway. And I always kind of remembered that moment later in life as a time when I wish I would not have, I wish I would have listened to that voice. And I'm very lucky that I'm here today to tell the tale. So anyway, he ended up driving us, and he was driving for a ridiculously long time. He just said, oh, it's just like down the field or something. And so we were driving for an extremely long time, and we were going in a direction that we had never been before. And I remember just telling my friend, like, this is very weird. Like, I was giving him a look like, what are we going to do? Are we in trouble? And driving. And finally, he pulls into this field. In my mind, I'm like, okay, well, we're dead. Like, I just like terrified at that point. And lo and behold, there is Paul's dad in the field. And we went up to him to go ask him. He was furious. He's like, "What are you guys doing out here?" And he was saying, "I'm not going back until like 9 o'clock," or he was saying something like that, And he's like, "If you guys want to get back, you're gonna have to wait here for like 6 hours or something." And so we were just like, "Oh, geez, we got in trouble, and now we were stuck in this weird place." So we decided to walk back. And looking back, that wasn't the best decision either, because if it was a really long drive, yeah, it was a long walk. And I think we got lost at one point. You would think that these like backwood roads, it's pretty straightforward to get back to where you're going, but we did have to make some choices, and we kind of got lost, and we had to double back a few times, and we were walking, and soon the sun started going down, and we were scared. We were holding hands, and we were singing church songs. We were scared that the timber wolves, were gonna come get us, even though they're not even out in the winter, or the summer, I don't think. But yeah, we were terrified, and didn't know what to do. We were exhausted, and finally, just as the sun was going down, we could see the gate for the farm in the distance. And at that exact moment, that was when they had started to pull the truck out. I guess he had gotten back, he'd gone through another way, gone back, and they're about to come looking for us. And they were just furious, and of course glad that we were back. But I always remembered that moment in my mind. And going forward, I decided that if I'm ever in a situation like that again, I would stay back. And I think learning that lesson was really valuable to me, as you'll see in my final story. All right, so let's check in with the comments. Mm-hmm. Intuition. It's very low and soft. Are you guys talking about the sound? Is that better? And pop the gain. Is that better? How's the sound on that? I have to ask and then wait because there's a delay. All right. So I'm going to share the second story, and I hope by now maybe you're thinking of things in your life, things that might be recent or things from the past that you can learn from. Times when you felt like something was off and you didn't really want to go along with something, but you did it anyway. I always think in my mind, for something that's legitimate and real, whatever it is, you can take time to make a decision. If it's a situation where someone's in your face going, "If you don't do this right now, you're going to lose the opportunity," I'm like, "All right, see ya." If you can't give me time to think, or I have to make an impulsive decision, it's a no. And that's it. It's the same. The volume. All right. That's the best I can do on the sound. Maybe try your volume if it's not working for you. Let me check on hearing how it sounds. Oh, it is a little bit low, isn't it? Let me try it on here and check. Oh yeah, it is low. Alright, that's fine. I'll just hold the mic. I'll keep it right up here. Alright, so I'm going to tell the second story. The first was when I was 9. Oh. Oh yeah. I'm like, what was... Yeah, so the other story was shortly after that. I was, and this is, another stereotypical story. It's so stereotypical. Now I'm an adult. I look back at it and I just think, oh, that's so weird. But a girlfriend and I were playing in her backyard, and there was a apartment building nearby, and there was a row of lower level windows, like basement apartment. And at one point, this guy is in the basement level apartment window, and he says, "Hey, come over here." And me and my friend looked at each other and we're like, "What?" You know, we didn't want to know what it is, right? And we're just kind of looking at each other, like being kind of hesitant. And he goes away, and then he comes back. "Hey, come over here for a second." And then he finally goes, "I've got kittens. Do you guys want to see some kittens? I have some kittens. Come in and see them." And he holds up this kitten. And my friend gets up and bolts. She's like, "Oh, kittens." And I was like, "No, no." I told her, I said, "Come back. Come back." Didn't listen to me. Well, she went into the apartment, built the apartment building or whatever. I guess he like buzzed her in or something. And I remember sitting there and I'm like, oh God, I don't know what to do now. Um, but shortly after that, her parents called us inside. So I went to the window and I said, "Nicole, you have to come in." And that guy knew I was still outside. So he probably, I don't know, whatever nonsense he was up to, he probably foiled him to some degree. So she came out and we went back to her house. Well, that was just that. Like in our mind as kids, we were just like, oh, well, move on. Ended up going to a movie, and later that day, went to a movie, and as we were going down the escalator, I specifically remember it was an escalator. I said to her, "Did you get to hold the kittens?" And I can't remember what she said, but our parents were like, "What kittens?" And I said, "Oh, the man in the basement told us to come into his house so we could see the kittens." And they were like, "What?" They're like losing their mind, like, "What?" Right? So I don't really know what happened after that. I feel like there was a commotion. I feel like they went over there. I can't quite remember what happened. But yeah, so that dude got busted. Hopefully. But people like that are still out there. Weird people. I feel like people need to, like I said, tell their kids it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to say no to strangers. Teach your children that to listen to themselves, to realize that how they feel is important. A really good way for that would be to have them start a journal or a diary and write down, or even just talk with them at the end of the day and just say, "So, how did you feel when something happened?" You kind of have to ask kids leading questions. You can't just say, "How was your day?" Because kids don't know. Like some weird thing could happen. They don't think to tell you, right? They're new human beings. They don't know how, right, to communicate these things. So you can even ask them at the end of every day, "What was the best part? What was something weird that happened? What was something bad that happened? And how did you handle it?" Things like that. You guys like these earrings? I researched my kibi type, which is, I think it's soft natural. So like shapes that look like they're from nature tend to suit me really well. So I kind of like these. I always ask my little brother, "How was your day?" And he says, "Good." That's the end of our conversation until I ask probing questions. Yeah, the kid could get abducted onto a spaceship, win the lottery, defeat a warlord, and you ask them, "How was your day?" And they're like, "Oh, it was good." You have to ask them like very specific questions. So funny. How long have we been streaming? This is so fun, streaming in this manner. I was actually planning on including a PowerPoint with this. I figured out how to do that, but that will have to be next time. I kind of ran out of time planning because, as you know, I tend to decide to do these streams last minute. Thanks, I'm glad you liked them. All right, so this is the third and final tale of childhood triumph of me escaping creepy and bad people. And guess how old I was this time? 16. 16. It took me 25 years to tell my dad what happened to me over the weekend in our small town in California. Yep. Been doing that for years. It really makes a difference. Little boys and girls learn to listen to their feelings. It can be literally life-saving. Exactly. I'm so glad to hear that. And I hate that I have to stress this, but you need to keep an eye out for little boys and little girls. Just children in general. But yeah, the final story happened when I was 16 years old. Um, oh, wait a minute. Was I 16 or was I 15? Because I moved out when I was 16. Or was I 14? I might have been like 15 then, because this was before I moved out, because I was still living with my mother, and it was horrible. So I was 15 years old. I was in high school. Oh yeah, I was 15. Wow. Yeah, so I was 15. I was living with my mom, and we were living, and my brothers, and we were living in an apartment that was basement level. So I used to go in and out. I wouldn't go into the apartment building. You know how you go to the front door and unlock it? I would just go in and out through the deck door. And there was this guy who lived above us. And, you just like normally see your neighbor around, you just say hi and everything like that, like nothing really serious. Man, back in those days, I was so, oh man, I was so depressed. I was so quiet, painfully shy. Um, I was just, yeah, where was I working when I was 15? Was I working at the pet store? And that was how I was starting to learn how to break out of my shell, was by doing commission sales and by talking about things I loved, which were animals and pets. Um, but yeah, so anyway, so one day I came home and nobody else was home, so I bet you this guy knew this. And as I'm walking towards the deck, he's on his balcony, which was right above the deck, and he's like, "Oh, hi." Now this guy was maybe 30 years old, relatively attractive, and I was like, "Oh, hi." And he's like, "Oh, how was your day?" And I'm like, what I'm just, huh? Like, why is, I'm like, good, right? I still gave that typical childhood answer, good. And, he started just like chit-chatting with me and saying things, and then, I remember I was like I was very reserved. I can still be reserved if I'm not sure of someone's intention. I can still be very reserved. But I was kind of reserved, and then as I was going in, he's like, "Oh, I just wanted to say, I'm so lucky to talk to such a pretty girl." And I was just like, back in my mind, I'm just like I didn't even know how to process it. Do you know what I mean? Like everyone ignored me. I had really good friends in my childhood, but by the time I was in high school, we all went to different high schools, and I was really struggling. My mom was really going nuts around that time, and she was taking all my money that I was trying to save for college, and I don't think I had really any meaningful human interaction at all. So this was very curious to me. I didn't know how to take it. I had no interest in guys. you know, you know what I mean? Um, but I remember just feeling kind of just, strange about it. But then I went and I was thinking about it later, and I started, I started feeling kind of good about it. Like, oh, someone noticed me. Wow, someone thinks I'm pretty. And like I appreciated the notion, I was thinking about it, but I was not overly excited. Okay. And this is kind of how I am to this day. Okay. Anytime I've been in a relationship, it's because someone pursued me very strongly, didn't give up, you know, and put up with a lot of roadblocks and suspicion from me. You know, but once I change my mind and once I feel I've vetted you properly, then okay, yeah, then we're together and it's all that is over. But in the beginning, you know, I'm just really not all that interested. And I think that's actually a really good way to be as a woman, as a young woman in this world today. It is good to be suspicious, to not be overly excited. Um, but anyway, so I was definitely kind of thinking about it. And um, when I would come home, sometimes I would think, oh, I wonder if he's going to be on the balcony again. And then he was one day. And so we started talking. We would talk a little bit longer. You know, he would say like, "Oh, what are you reading at school?" And "Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I really like that too." And you know, we would talk about. He's like, "Have you heard about some philosopher?" He was telling me something. I was like, "Oh no, you know, that's interesting." You know, I don't know how long we were talking at a time. Maybe like 15, 20 minutes to half an hour. And then I would just go in my apartment. Now that probably happened like twice. And then like the third time, he asked me like, "Oh, have you ever seen such and such movie?" Right? And I was like, "Oh no." He's like explaining to me. I'm like, "Oh, that sounds really good." He's like, "Yeah, well, you should come up one time and we can watch that movie." And I just remember just kind of saying, "Oh yeah, sure." And then I went to my apartment. I'm like, "Oh no," right? Because you know, I had social anxiety, and I just thought it was strange. Like I didn't even like, I didn't. And it's weird for me to think about this looking back because I was suspicious of men's intentions when I was like really young. But at that time, I didn't think. You know, I had no experience with dating. I had no experience with like anything like that. You know, now you know if you meet a guy and he's like, "Oh, come to my house and watch a movie," you're like, "Bye, buddy." You know what I mean? But I just remember thinking, "Oh, that's weird." You know, like I couldn't really. But I went in my house and I kind of resigned myself, like, "Oh, yeah, I'm not gonna talk to him again, and I don't want to watch a movie with him." Like I don't even know if I even had a concept of watching a movie with somebody, really, other than like at your friend's house or something. Like to go to a grown man's house and watch a movie, that seemed very strange to me. And after I felt weird about that and I couldn't say why, but I just trusted myself that that was odd. And I'm really grateful for that. And I think after that, I just started kind of blowing him off and I just stopped talking to him and he just kind of left me alone. But I think about that and now it infuriates me. It really does. Um, and it shows that, you know, we really, really, really have to watch out for our kids. And we have to teach them unpleasant things early on so they know, you know, because we teach, you know, because I learned in school, I learned, oh, if someone touches you on a place that covers your bikini, that's really bad. That your bikini covers, and that's bad, and you should tell an adult. But you know, that guy wasn't touching me over a place of bikini. He was just inviting me to watch a movie, right? So we need to tell our kids, like, you don't, adults are not your friends. If an adult tells you, oh, come help me find my puppy, or oh, come look at my kittens, or come watch a movie with me, adults are not your friends. If you, strange adults are not your friends. You don't have to be nice to them, you know, and if they're doing that, they're weird, and it's okay if you think they're weird, and later we find out, oh, that was your great uncle Jordan, and he was just trying to be nice to you. That's okay. You're allowed to make a mistake. That's what I'd say to a kid. If you say no, and that person was the school principal, and later we find that out, that's okay. We'll work through it. Kids need to know it's okay. But yeah, I think of a scum of the earth dude, and I just, You really have to watch out for your kids and for other kids and for young people. Um, I'm so glad that, I was such an obvious target to somebody like that. Children who grew up in dysfunctional families, like, I remember thinking that because my mother put on such a great show that nobody knew what was going on inside our home. I used to think that because um, she was smiling and nice and everything, that people had no idea, but that's not true. I showed in that video about the video I recently posted about my painful past and my childhood, about that email I received from that woman who was like, I can't believe the stuff you went through. I had no idea that other people knew, but they knew. And the perverts and the weirdos, they know too. They know that, oh, there's someone whose parents, who doesn't guide them. There's someone who doesn't have a father and maybe has no, self-esteem, or who would be an easy target. Um, and I saw that happen to a lot of the people that I grew up with. And it could have happened to me, but it didn't, because I was just an angry little suspicious weird kid. And I'm so grateful for that. Um, but it's interesting how that has affected me in my adult life, because I'm still kind of angry and suspicious. Do you know what I mean? Um, Sometimes I am and sometimes I'm not. Like, generally, I will strike up conversations with strangers. I like to, crack jokes, or, talk about strange things with people. Um, but I really have an eye for that. You know, a couple months ago, I was downtown. I was going to see my dermatologist, and it's this beautiful upscale neighborhood, but there's still like weird street people that come in and out of there occasionally because it's right downtown. And I went and I walked into this elevator, and there was this sketchy ass looking guy who was walking by the elevator, and you could tell he was like walking by, and as soon as he saw me get into it, he like sidetracked and went to get into the elevator, and he walked in right beside me, and I looked at him and I walked directly out of the elevator. At that point, the door closed right behind me. So I thought that was really funny. you know I don't care about being polite. If you're gonna act weird, I've seen, I have one thing that kind of stands out in my mind, that I saw a woman, like, or that I've seen, where women try to be polite to weird dudes or weird people. Um, and I feel like that's something that as that a lot of women have to learn to overcome. Because a lot of times, if it's about a child, we can stick up for the child. But if it's for ourselves, sometimes, that might be a bit different for some people. And I think I would love to teach classes on assertiveness and being disagreeable. Um, and I feel like, to a certain degree, I have. I'm laughing because I see someone laughing about it in the comments. I thought that was really funny too. I was so glad that the door closed and he got stuck in that elevator going nowhere. Fool. Um, but yeah. Hmm. It's interesting to look at the things that saved us as children, but that the coping mechanisms that saved us, but that become armor when we are adults. And I think I've done a pretty good job of integrating that side of myself with the softer side of myself, because I'm actually, I am very introverted, but I would say I'm an extroverted introvert. Like, I'd like to spend a lot of time alone, but when I'm with people, like, I'm very personable. People have told me, they describe me as friendly to other people. Um, so, but I do feel like that in some ways, that side of me, that suspicious, and that side of me that's like ready to, cut people off, or, write someone off. That's something I've been thinking about and exploring, because, I've seen the opposite to that, which are people who are like, oh no, give them a chance, everyone's nice, you know, and bad things happen to them, right? Like that little girl in the hospital was me, like, oh, why are you being so negative? He's just being nice. I'm like, no, he's not. So it's so hard to um, find the right parallel. Personally, I think one is safer than the other. I would rather hurt someone's feelings by saying no to them than agree to do something and they're just a weird person who, you know, just tries to pull some weird nonsense with you. Let me check out some of the comments here. Agnes, when I was around 16, this grown man at church would always vent to me about his ex-wife and divorce. As soon as I told my mom, she snitched the top church people, never saw him around again. Good job. I'm so happy for that. I'm so happy. Even now, after I remind myself of this stuff, this one old man was forcing himself to buy my food and was shocked that I repeatedly declined like I owed him something. Yeah. And you know what? In that case, it could have been, um, you know, a nice, legitimate person who just wanted to help. Or it could just be a weird person. And if it's a legitimately kind person who wants to help, they should be understanding. They should know what kind of world we live in and just understand, oh, maybe it's not right for this person. To me, if someone is taking your personal decisions personally, then that's their problem. Maybe they're not such a good person after all, right? If you're trying to force your kindness on a stranger and you're upset that they don't want it, you're weird. So yeah. Let's see. Nice to see you doing as live chat. Good to see you all too. Veronica says that's why we have strong intuition that we need to listen to. When you feel pressure, it's wrong already. Exactly. Exactly. Or if you feel like uncomfortable, just say no. That's what I if you can't say no, if it's just a one-off deal, and if you don't say no, it's the end of X, Y, and Z. Okay, well, it's the end then. To me, if it's a legitimate good person or a legitimate good deal, they can say, oh, just go home and think about it, or go home and ask your parents, and whatever, right? Anytime someone's putting pressure on you, and I'm like that now too. If anyone puts pressure on me, I'm just like, okay, fine, nope, bye. You know what I mean? Hmm. Although I have had, looking back, I have had situations where something strange happened, but I actually did trust the person. Like, I remember when I was maybe 16 or 17, I was running for a bus in the rain, and it saw me, and it saw me running for the stop, and it kept on going. And I was going to be late for work at that point. And immediately right after, a car pulled up and pulled over, and the door popped open. And there was this woman inside, and she goes, "Get in. I saw what happened. I'll give you a ride." And I trusted her. I was like, okay. In that moment, nothing felt weird, nothing felt off. And I did, and she just like, where are you going? And she dropped me off, and we had a little chat on the drive, and that was it. And yeah, nothing bad came of it. So yeah, kind of just have to trust the feeling and the situation. And if you have practice doing that, um, you get better at it over time. It was a lot of pressure, and I was being super kind when I declined. Yeah. All right. So it's saying that my stream health is going down. I'm not sure why. Let's check up on. All right. So I hope that was an interesting chat. hope those were some interesting stories. And I hope that we are all keeping ourselves and our children and our loved ones safe. And I think it's better to be safe than sorry, especially in the world that we live in. And in future videos, I'm going to be talking about some related things, like red flags for men who are addicted to the P word that rhymes with torn, um, signs to look out for in that if you're dating. And I also want to show you guys, I don't know if this is related, but like as a single woman living alone, some precautions you can take to have um, for protection and defense if necessary. And yeah, kind of where we'll go with that. I'm not ready to share my stories, but that's a miracle that I'm alive. Yeah. I wish parents would explain things into depth instead of just scaring us. Yeah. Yep. Somebody asking how old I am now. Go look it up on famousbirthdays.com. I found all these weird websites lately that have things about me on them. There's this website called famousbirthdays.com that has me listed there, and they have my birthday, and they have weird things about me. There's one called Celebrity Dating, which really makes me laugh. Celebritydating.com that has a page about me and who I'm dating and if I'm single and all kinds of weird stuff. I thought it was very strange. The world is a weird place in many ways. Internet is a weird place. I have no problem talking about my age. I've talked about it numerous times in videos. I always notyourbusiness.com. Oh. Um, well, thanks for that thought about the ASMR. I've thought about it before. I don't know. I feel, because I have ASMR channels that I absolutely love, but I just don't know if I have it in me because I feel like, oh, just a moment. I feel like ASMR talking is kind of rambling and generic, and that's part of what makes it soothing and relaxing. And I don't feel like I talk about generic things. Like I talk about thought provoking things, and people don't want to talk about thought provoking things while they're trying to relax. So that's why I feel like I would not be good at ASMR. But some of my favorite channels are Ephemeral Rift, and who's that girl, Maria? The one who just had the baby, that ASMR girl from, where is she from? Poland, I think. Oh, I wish I knew her channel. Gentle Whispering? No, I'm not sure. But she's got like over a million subs. She's so amazing. But yeah. The dream catcher behind me was made for me by a Blackfoot Indian woman. In the southern region of the province that I live in, there's a Blackfoot reserve, and there's a Blackfoot tribe, and there are people who live on the reserve or they live in areas around there like Fort McLeod. And yeah, I knew one of them, and she made me that as a gift. It has in the center of it, that's a deer bone, and yeah, there's some little eagle feathers, and it's got some things written on it, and it's quite special, and I think it's really beautiful. But anyway, I think we've had a good chat. Thank you so much to everyone who participated. Good to see you again, Bill Howard. I think you and Veronica know each other. That's awesome. Good to see you, of course, Veronica. I'm happy to see you. Thank you to Agnes who joined, and to Anna who joined. Yeah, I could make my own kind of ASMR. I have actually tried before. Oh, she's Russian? Oh, yeah, she is. What's her name? Because she makes videos in English and in Russian. I love her videos. She has such a good vibe. And she actually left me a comment on one of my videos before, too. I can't remember. I'll have to go find it. I'm bad at remembering like names of things. I'm always like that. Even places where I've lived. Annette Rogers, thank you. Thank you for joining. You be careful with that Wickle Pony. You're gonna get blocked. Oh, guys. I'm just joking. All right. Yep, good to see you all. Have a great week coming up, and I'll see you again soon. Bye for now.